Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. With host and founder Richard Case and co-host and retreat leader Kathy Ricconi. Join us every weekday at this time to discuss news, spend time in the Word, and receive answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. And now your host, Richard Case.
Good morning, Kathy. Here we are in the mid-February on Monday. We're finishing up our topic on overcoming worry, fear, and anxiety. So we've been
happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
That's right. That's right. Today's Happy Valentine's. So do you guys do anything special?
We always do. I love Valentine's. I told you I love February altogether.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dan is really good at spoiling me, so that is a nice thing. But that is actually Valentine's Day is the day we got engaged. Also.
Oh, is that right?
It is. Like I said, our dating anniversary, our anniversary of being engaged, and our wedding anniversary are all February things. So February is a grand month in my book. Lots of flowers at this place. We'll do some fun date nights throughout the month, and I'm planning. So again, we tape this early, so we're planning an overnight, a little getaway date also for during that time. So lots of fun stuff. I love it.
Neat. Now, were you? Did you get engaged in Colorado?
We did.
Yeah.
Yep. Our senior year in college, and we actually it was February of our senior year. And no, I'm sorry, February of our senior year. I had to think that through for a second, make sure that timing was right. February of senior year. And he actually had a friend. We went to this restaurant called the Sunbird in Colorado Springs. I don't know if you remember that. It is now an empty building with a for sale sign on it. The last time I was there, and I was so sad, because it's a beautiful, nice restaurant. And when you're a young college student, it was a big deal to get to go there. But glass windows, it sits up high on a hill, and glass windows. And so you can see out all over, and there's a fire pit outside, and just beautiful place. But Dan actually arranged for his friend Jimmy Dunn came with him. And not with me, showed up partway through. So we had our dinner, and I remember thinking Dan was unusually quiet throughout the meal, and I'm like, have I done something wrong? It's Valentine's Day. I'm wondering what in the world, why he's being so oddly quiet. And then just towards the end of our dinner, all of a sudden his friend Jimmy walks in, and I see him, and he's got this bag with him, and he comes out, and I'm trying to remember the order exactly, but he had this whole thing set. And Dan stood up in the middle of the restaurant, and asked Jimmy. Jimmy was like almost his valet or butler or something. He's like, music, and he hands him. Do you remember the old, what used to be called boom boxes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. So he hands him this big clunky boom box, and he plugs that in, or I don't think he plugs it in. I think it's probably on batteries, but he presses play, and one of the songs that's like our song comes on, and then he's like, rose or flowers, and he hands him roses, and then Dan hands them to me, and then pillow, and he hands him a pillow, and he gets down on his knee, and a ring, and he hands him the ring, and he opens it up, and he proposes, and the whole restaurant's watching, and super sweet. And then of course I got the giggles. He's like, ask me to marry, and I'm like, of course I will. And then all I did was laugh. I couldn't. For 20 minutes we talk about this now. For 20 minutes I really couldn't speak. I just sat and laughed. But anyway, it was super sweet, and the wait staff brought a bottle of champagne over to us, and everybody was cheering, and it was sweet. But that was Valentine's Day at the Sunbird. That will always be a special restaurant to me.
Wow, that's fantastic. And how many years ago was that?
Okay, so this year we are coming up on our 29th anniversary, so it would have been 28. Or what is that? No, 30 years ago. It goes the other way. 30 years ago that we got engaged.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. That's 32 years ago that we started dating, officially February 4th.
It's kind of, funny when you talk about the giggles. and I can understand that, because when you get them, you can't stop.
Yeah, I couldn't even eat my cheesecake, and I love cheesecake.
And so you just got in that mode of
Oh, yeah.
It just struck you funny, and you got the giggles.
And I just couldn't stop. Yep.
One time, I did a wedding for a couple that we had discipled and taught to abide, and they had this super formal wedding.
Oh, wow.
And he and I had this really, kind of very fun relationship, including, sharing about movies and movie lines, and and that's part of our, what we had learned together, and it was fun and funny, and but so they had this super formal wedding, and the wife's uncle was a tenor from New York City Opera.
Oh, wow.
So he comes to the wedding, and he sings, and we have the a little bit of a message, and then a couple of statements, and then he sings this overwhelming song from the opera, and it was literally overwhelming, and everybody, emotionally just
Wow.
just, was doing it, and so then it's time for the rings, and so I say, and I don't know why I said this, but I said, do you have the wedding wings?
Oh, no.
from the Princess Bride.
Princess Bride, yes, I know this one.
And
Marriage.
marriage. And do you have the wedding wings? And from this very formal thing to I make this joke. And I didn't do it purposely. It just spoke it.
Couldn't help it.
And I said, and he looked at me like, I know where that's from, and I said, "Oh, that's another movie. Like we're in a movie with you, and that's another movie."
Right.
And I get the giggles.
Oh, no.
And he looks at me, kind of like, hey, that's pretty funny, and I get the giggles. And I'm in this very formal wedding with the giggles. And Linda's in, she's like the first row, and she sees.
Did she catch it?
She saws what's happening, so she immediately starts praying, God help him. And you know how it went with you is that, it's really hard not to.
It's hard to get back out of that, right?
It's hard to get out of it, and so I stop, and nobody really. The only guys that know is Linda and the couple,
right?
Because they are laughing. Of what happened, but I get the giggles, and so and I'm trying to stop it.
So will yourself quiet.
Will myself quiet. Do not keep giggling, because nobody will understand this, and so right. So there was silence with me, chuckling, and
right.
then finally I got through it without what you experienced. So it sounded like you went for 20 minutes.
I just caved 20 minutes of giggling and laughing, and couldn't eat my cheesecake.
How did Dan, by the way, respond to that?
Well, then he finally livened up, and I realized also why he was so quiet all of the meal, that he was actually nervous about how this was all going to transpire. But no, I think he got a kick out of it. He's always, for whatever reason, gotten a kick out of me. So
yeah, that's like my Linda, Lucy Ricardo. I've got a kick out of her for sure. Well, we've been congratulations, by the way, and I hope you have a great month.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. We've been talking about overcoming worry, fear, and anxiety, and we've kind of coming to the end of it with a lot of wonderful things that God has spoken, and we talked about as we summarize this. Joshua was one that said, I understand what it means to surrender, and it's not my plan. do you want to bless my plan, or I've got a plan to resolve things. I'll just go to, what do you have to say to your servant? And then, of course, he learned how to do that. Had great victory. Things were resolved. God had them possess the promised land. And then Joshua said, hey, by the way, we possessed it, and we're experiencing all the beauty of that, the resolution of that. But we now have another choice to make. And that is, are you going to serve God continually now to go what's next? And he says, for me and my house, we're going to serve God.
We're going to serve the Lord, yeah.
And then we go into, Isaiah 60 and Isaiah 61 that talked about glory to God, and I'm doing this to demonstrate my life, and I promise you I'm going to do this, and understand it and receive it. Then we went into the last week, we went into Zechariah 8. Where it talked about the
remnant. That was a great passage to spend time in.
I am going to resolve this. I'm going to cause you to possess it by you just staying with me. And here's what you are to do, and speak the truth and stay with it until you get an answer. And don't focus on the negative, and keep understanding what I have to say and what I'm going to do, and don't love a false oath. And then turn your fasting into feast by, and you described it well, is take some concentrated time, get away from your routine, whether that's food
distractions,
or TV or whatever it is, but just concentrate on things that I want to show you, particularly, and this is important, and we kind of tie these two things together, as you've looked at problems, they're real. And most people, the reason they're in worry, fear, and anxiety is it's kind of heavy.
Right.
And heavy meaning I can't come up with an answer. I can't come up with a solution to this. And it looks to me...
And feeling the weight of the responsibility of solving it as well.
Yeah. And it looks to me like this could be not great in terms of an answer, or I guess I got to live with this, or wow, this could really be negative for me because of the adversity. So he says that call your sacred assembly. You need people around you to walk with you into this. So don't do this alone. Get people who have a heart to follow you, or follow me, God speaking, and listen to me and help you listen to me so that you can see my answer and understand my will and my instructions for you to be obedient to. Call your sacred assembly. And then he says, one of the key things as you go through this would be to go into a fast. A concentrated time where you purposely are saying, I don't know the answer. I'm going to ask you, what do you have to say to your servant?
Right.
I'm going to listen, process, and stay with it. And then I'll bring my sacred assembly, my wife, my husband, my family, my friends, my inner circle, small group. I'll bring them into the process to assist me, and knowing, and this is what we keep trying to illustrate, is it all starts with, I believe and know that God's going to resolve this.
Yes.
And so I need to just walk with that. Do I need to call a sacred assembly? Do I need to go to fasting, concentrated time? It's breaking up the routine to say, well, I'm going to go to him and let him, I'm going to be the remnant. I'm going to seek his heart and his answer, and I'm going to purposely do that. And if I just stay with him, it's going to happen. And that's why Joshua says, today, this day,
who are you going to serve?
Who are you going to serve? Are you going to? And by the way, when, and Christ said it all the time, deny yourself, take up the cross, and follow me. When? Now. Today, this moment. Okay, well, he gives us kind of a summary of this, and as we're finalizing this, there's this beautiful psalm that we'll spend some time in here because it's so powerful. But go to Psalm 145. It's 21 verses long, a little bit long, but that's okay. Read it, and then we'll go and unpack this over the next couple days.
Great. I will extol you, my God and King, and bless your name forever and ever. Every day I will bless you and praise your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. One generation shall commend your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts. On the glorious splendor of your majesty and on your wondrous works I will meditate. They shall speak of the might of your awesome deeds, and I will declare your greatness. They shall pour forth the fame of your abundant goodness and shall sing aloud of your righteousness. The Lord is gracious and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. The Lord is good to all, and his mercy is over all that he has made. All your works shall give thanks to you, O Lord, and all your saints shall bless you. They shall speak of the glory of your kingdom and tell of your power, to make known to the children of man your mighty deeds and the glorious splendor of your kingdom. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures throughout all generations. The Lord is faithful in all his words and kind in all his works. The Lord upholds all who are falling and raises up all who are bowed down. The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food in due season. You open your hand, you satisfy the desire of every living thing. The Lord is righteous in all his ways and kind in all his works. The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. He fulfills the desire of those who fear him. He also hears their cry and saves them. The Lord preserves all who love him, but all the wicked he will destroy. My mouth will speak the praise of the Lord, and let all flesh bless his holy name forever and ever.
Yeah. so
Beautiful.
so how about that one? What a great summary.
Mm-hmm.
That as we talk about, we have fear, worry, and anxiety. Why? Something negative's happened to us. And again, this could be even a long-term thing. That could be a reminder or bringing out that, hey, I was abused, or have emotional scarring, or the way I was treated has really impacted my heart. Or it could be current. It could be something current. It could be just life has thrown me a curveball, and I'm having difficulty reconciling where it's going to go, and it looks like it's not going to be good, or it even is bad at the moment. I've got something negative that really happened to me. So that's why we have it. And what this psalm is saying, as we're trying to conclude it, is there's some beautiful truths here of God's promise. And remember, this is really all about that. That is that, yeah, I've got a problem, and God said, I understand it. And he says, I even understand why you've gone to fear, worry, and anxiety. I got that. But I'm asking you to come to me, because there's truth here that I will resolve this if you have a heart to go. And I'm trying to help you understand that. So he starts it out, and he says, I'm going to praise you. I'm going to bless your name forever and ever, every day. And this is what's really cool in verse 2. Every day I'm going to bless you. I will praise your name forever and ever. Okay, when?
Wow. Every day, every
day.
moment.
Okay, yeah. Now, it doesn't say, well, when I resolve everything for you.
Mm-hmm. So it's really in the middle of it.
It's going to be, because remember, in the world you're going to have trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be in the middle of several issues in your life that need to be resolved. Some of them are getting resolved and you're seeing it. Other ones are in the middle of getting resolved, and some of them are brand new.
Right.
And so he says, if you understand that, and don't think differently, don't ask me to just make sure you never have any trouble, take you out of the world. He doesn't say any of that. He said, well, you're going to have trouble, but every day get into the place of praising me, because why? Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised. And it said his greatness is unsearchable. Okay, so think about that. What do you understand about that? His greatness is unsearchable.
that we really can't even get to the end of it. That's what I picture is, when you're searching for something, you're searching to find it and assuming you're going to almost accomplish it, but it's unsearchable there. It's so abundant that we can't possibly even get to the end of it.
Yeah, yeah. And remember, as we think about the issues we got, he said, my greatness is unsearchable. In other words, it's so over the top amazing that no matter what you got going, it's not greater or surpassing what I can do and what I will do for you, because he says, and this is true, he says it in several places, both Old and New Testament, nothing is too difficult for me.
Right.
Why? Well, because it doesn't even come close to matching my greatness, which is always superior to your problems.
Right. Well, and even I think of Isaiah 64, I think it's verse 4, and I'm going to misquote a little bit, but I'll paraphrase. You can maybe fix it for me. But he talks about that no eye has seen, no ear has heard. He who works, the God who works on behalf of those who wait for him. And that we've talked about that, not passive waiting, but that interactive waiting with God and how he works on our behalf. And I think that's, a lot of what you're talking about too, is we can't even begin to fathom. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, but he's doing it.
Yeah.
And what he's capable of and what he will produce is amazing.
Yeah. He says that you can't really imagine, and that's why he says, I don't want you, and this is important, he says, I don't want you to try to figure out how it's going to be resolved, and and he says, try to tell me what you think I should do, because you're thinking way too small. You're thinking natural cause. Well, if you could do this and figure this out, then I can get through it. He says that it's so unsearchable. And that's why he says, I want you to have that element of trust that how I'm going to do it is going to be unusual. It's going to be supernatural. It's not going to be natural. Because I have power to do it, nothing is too difficult. My greatness is unsearchable. And that's why he says, learn to always come to me. And by the way, if you learn it, what can you do every day? Praise me.
Right, absolutely.
And
I love, even when you go back to verse 2, where it starts, every day I will bless thee, and I will praise your name forever and ever. That word for bless is barak. Yeah. And it is literally to bless or to kneel, to adore, but it's a posture of surrender and adoration. Yep. And so that it starts there. It starts with every day I'm going to surrender to you and give you the adoration you deserve and come to see what you have to say, and then expect and praise you for what you're going to do.
Yep. So as he says, you can get into that posture of blessing me, praising me, surrendering to me every single day. Yeah. It's a way of living, see? Now, if I live that way, does that mean I don't have any trouble?
No, you're going to have trouble. Yeah. He says you're going to have trouble. Yeah, but it changes how we navigate it.
Yeah, it changes our approach to it, so that if you're living that way, you're not focused on the problem and getting
focused on your God
by the problem. Is that, I'm praising you. Why? Well, because I have experienced it. I am experiencing it. I'm going to experience it.
Right. And I know you're bringing resolution, unsearchable, that I couldn't come up with myself.
And I can praise you every day. So it's not he's trying to get us to a point where we don't look at it and say, well, some of them are going to get resolved. I'll praise you then. Some of them aren't going to get resolved, and I won't be able to praise you then. He says, no, I'll do all of them. Right. And you can trust me, and you can praise me today. Every day, because it's going to happen. And then he says, and this is in verse 4, one generation shall praise your works to another, So you're going to share it with your kids and your grandkids and Generation C is a broader element of family. So, like I know that you on Tuesdays have a group of women
Right.
that, well, they're your generation. They're your family. You're discipling them so that they receive it. And by the way, they're going to do it to a next generation. And he said, keep sharing with them and have them share with the next generation, my works, and shall declare your mighty acts. I will meditate on the glorious splendor of your majesty and on your wondrous works. I will speak of the might of your awesome acts, and I will declare your greatness. Okay, so what are you declaring?
What he's done, who
Yeah.
he is,
Yeah.
what he's doing in the process of.
The Hebrew there, mighty works, is supernatural works. Things that are way, way, way bigger than natural stuff. It's exceptional. It's not natural. It's supernatural works.
Things that only God can do.
And a work is a real activity. See, it's really a fulfilling of the issues of your life, which is how you're going to interpret it. So that, see, it's not general and it's not broad. It has to do with my life, dealing with the stuff of my life, which is what I need. I need resolution, and I'm going to declare the works. Okay, when will I declare the works?
Now.
Yeah, because it's implying it's a continual thing. Why? Well, because I'll keep resolving everything in your life all the time.
Right.
And you'll see the impact of that. You'll see the result of that. You'll see the work of that. And you'll be declaring, it says, first of all, you're praising my
in
greatness.
Process, yeah.
And then you are declaring specifics to, look at what you did. So that, Linda and I shared about those 18 things that we wrote down. Right. Well, God's resolved many of them. And we can declare that, okay, we had this roadblock in our business situation, and he uncorked it. We have other issues that we're processing through that he said, well, here's my promise. Here's what I'm going to do. And now I need you to walk with me through obedience, and I'm going to give you steps to walk into that place to receive it. And as that's happening, we can declare his supernatural stuff that he's doing specifically in our life, that it's not about, it was a natural activity, or look at what I did, I figured this out. Rather, the real stuff of our life is getting translated into his wondrous, exceptional works that I have the privilege of sharing. And I will meditate on his glorious splendor of his majesty. Okay, when you think about that, you're going to meditate on the glorious splendor of his majesty. What does that bring to mind for you? You're going to meditate on the glorious splendor of his majesty.
Really on who he is, like really recognizing and meditating on the fact that he is the God who created the universe, and he can do what he says he will do and will do what he says he will do.
Yeah.
And just, recognizing who God is in relation to who we are, really.
And the glorious splendor, again, is it's magnificent. And his majesty is why? Well, because he's the king. What can a king do?
And he has all authority.
I've got all the authority. Yeah. I've got all power. Nothing is too difficult for me. The issue that you've got, I can resolve it. I can bring resolution, and I will bring resolution because I'm majestic, and there's splendor. And when he says, I want you to meditate on that, what is that? What do you think that looks like? And this is kind of cool. I want you to meditate on that.
really staying with it. I think, when you're meditating on something, I'm reminded of like ruminating even,
Yes.
on his word, just really staying with it and processing over and over. But it's a fixed point where you've removed other distractions and this is what you're focused on.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I want you to meditate on, to focus on my authority and the fact that I can and will resolve this,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. And the meditation is ponder, stay
Mm-hmm.
with, keep rehearsing what happened.
Keep it at the front of your mind.
Keep it in
Yeah.
front of you, and process it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying that one of the ways that you'll be able to praise me daily
Mm-hmm.
is to keep remembering
That's good.
what I've done.
Right.
And that's why he wants us, and this goes back to what we talked about in Zechariah, is celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
We'll celebrate what? Well, share, talk about, write down, give thanksgiving. This, what you just did yesterday, what you did last week, what you're doing today, I recognize it. That's why he says meditate
Right.
on the splendor of my majesty, which is what? Something visible. See, it has to be visible, has to be real, has to be translated into something in my life that I'm actually experiencing the victory and the
Right.
the resolution of this very issue that I've got.
What you're saying reminds me, of a post I saw a sweet friend make the other day on Instagram, and she's sitting there smiling with this. She's writing a book, and she's got this little cupcake with a few candles out, and the post basically said, when you marry somebody, choose a spouse who knows how to celebrate the steps along the way and not just the finished product. And that was something her husband had done, just like a little gift of love. She had finished a chapter or something, and he decided, we're going to celebrate the milestones along the way. And that is the picture that I think you're painting right now, is even when we're in the middle of what God is bringing resolution to, also being willing to celebrate the steps that he's bringing us through, knowing that there is an end product coming.
Right. And to appreciate the work that's being done,
right,
both in the middle of it and then as it finally does it. So like in our business, which is in the pharmaceutical business, we are regulated by what they call state regulatory boards, and they have the power to determine certain things, approve certain things, and then take action based on things that they either like or don't like. Well, we bought a company, and we understood that they had a problem in Alabama, but it was described, and it was resolvable, and so we bought it knowing that. Well, after we own it, we start working with the state board, and we discover that this state board and the people involved in this state board are, in a sense, I'll put it in a simple way, just don't even care about resolving this, and they just want to prolong it, but it has impact because of certain things we can't do because of it.
Right.
And so we've asked them, and we had an attorney that was actually causing, and this is something that, again, God brought to light, because our question as we experience it is, well, what do you got to say about this?
Right.
Well, as we started listening, we saw something is that the attorney that we were using always said, well, yeah, but I got to spend more money to do this, and yeah, I got to spend more money to do this, and that phrase came up, and we all kind of thought, wait a minute, is this right? Is this what we're supposed to be doing? And is he really working on our behalf? And so we, as we processed with God and got truth about that, the answer was no. He's actually causing more trouble so that he stays in that project earning more fees. And that was his motivation. It wasn't to resolve it. It was to do the opposite.
Right.
It was like, oh, hey, and does everybody see that? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for showing us that. What do you got to say about that? Well, I need you to find a different attorney. Okay. So we go into ask, seek, and knock, and we start looking around and talking about it, and through a series of God at work, we find another guy that knows the whole thing and understands it all and says, yeah, you got to understand how things work down here in Alabama.
Right.
And it's different. And so it's all about relationship and et cetera. So okay. So he starts working the relationship. And normally, because of the relationship, he would have resolved it. Well, he says, I've tried. And this one guy that's kind of over this one project literally doesn't care. And he's not willing to even meet with me to resolve this. And we're supposed to have a hearing, and he'll cancel the hearing, and we can't get there.
Right.
Okay, so, well, Father, what do you got to say about that? Well, as we pray about it, it's God says, this is spiritual. You've got an enemy that is working through the selfishness of that guy to thwart the resolution.
Wow.
That I want to bring, because it's a spiritual thing, and don't look at it in the natural. It's got to look at it as a spiritual activity. Oh, okay, so what do you want us to do? I want you to stand and go to Ephesians 6, and you stand and pray and ask that I break through this and release it, and it's a spiritual activity. Okay. So we're right now in the middle of that. As we then met with the attorney, what do we need to do? He said, well, let me write this one approach. And then we talked to him about, we're going to pray that God release that so that we can get resolution. Okay, now a couple things. God said to us, I'll resolve it.
Right.
I'm going to resolve this, and it'll be favorable. Okay, here's the steps that he's asked us to take. We're taking those steps. We're at this point now where the attorney's going to write this thing, and we are supposed to pray that God break it open. And so we're in the middle of it. We got a problem, but we can praise him daily because of his magnificent splendor. A couple things. One, we've seen him do it before. And we've rehearsed that. We've come back into remembrance of that. Wait a second. Yeah, well, these kind of things have happened before, and God did resolve it.
God was faithful to resolve it.
God was faithful. So we can stand on that. We've heard what God said, and the question that we ask ourselves, and God's asking us, is, do you believe it? The answer is kind of simple. If we didn't believe it, we would then go back to worry, fear, and anxiety.
Right.
And yeah, I kind of live there. Oh, I'm worried about. Oh, I'm struggling with this.
It's an easy place to go back to. Yeah.
Or, no, I believe it, and I'm free of worry, fear, and anxiety, and I'm praising you. I'm meditating on your splendor of your majesty.
And I'm expectant.
And I know that because you said you're going to resolve it, even though it hasn't been resolved yet, but I can see the steps and you guiding us and leading us to what you want us to do, which is to believe. Am I willing to believe what he says? Why? My greatness surpasses everything. Do you understand that?
Right.
I can do this. So that's why he really pulls this together and says, are you daily praising me? Are you sharing the works that I'm doing, both have done, I'm doing right now to resolve it, and will do next? Because why? Well, I promise you that.
Right.
And you can speak it, you can talk about it, you can remember it, meditate on it. the splendor of my majesty is so spectacular that you know that you know that you know, so that while we're here in the middle of it, we know it's going to get resolved. And we can trust it, and we don't need to go to worry, fear, and anxiety, which is causing us to want to say, hey, what do you got to say about this? Because this is the problem. So it's not denying it's a problem.
Right.
But it's following the steps and belief that, well, you're supernaturally going to do something. And when he does, we'll bear witness to that. And by the way, we'll meditate on it again.
And he'll be glorified.
And he'll be glorified. We'll meditate on it again. And hey, you did it there, and you did it there, and you did it there. And that's what he's trying to say as we go into a summary of this. And we'll spend more time in Psalm 145 here. But it's, I'm going to resolve this stuff. All of them.
Right.
Walk with me. Let me do it. Meditate on it. Believe it. Receive it. So that the next one that comes, you don't go south and go, this isn't going to work. You go, I got a problem, but you're going to resolve it. You see the difference?
Yes, absolutely.
Which way it goes. So that's what he's asking us to really, and that's why this psalm is so beautiful. Is I want you. He says, God's saying, I want you to get to this point.
Right.
Now, how do you do that?
And for this to be a normal part of how we process and live life.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know people are out there saying, yeah, but I haven't experienced this. Mm-hmm. So I'm not even close to being at that point. He says, I understand. God says, I understand. Let's go seek it. Let's go try.
Right.
Let's go start a new way of doing it. And I'll prove to you and show you and demonstrate to you, you can trust me. So that, and again, we have a beautiful example of the disciples. When he first met him, what did he say to him?
Come and see.
Yeah, just come and see. Just come and see. Okay. We're willing to do that. Did they have any clue about supernatural stuff?
No.
No.
And they had no idea what all they were in for.
Yeah, and wisdom, and how do we deal with all these issues, and we don't know anything at all. And it took them 3 years to walk through it, where God kept saying, stay with me.
Right.
And let me show you next. Stay with me and let me show you next. And hey, guys, do you remember what has happened here? And remember the feeding of the 5,000 and the 4,000 and the waves, and remember all that stuff. Meditate on that. Rehearse, meditate on the splendor of my majesty. And what I'm doing is I'm building you to a point where it becomes, and you said it, becomes normal. And that's what they wound up in the New Testament. That's how they lived normally, going from I don't have a clue what any of this means to I learned normally. So that when we say to somebody, well, this is a picture of where God wants to take you, and he knows at the moment your attitude is I'm kind of not buying this. And God says, I know. Come and see.
Yep.
Let me show you. Try it a different way. And by the way, and one thing I keep saying is, how's it been working out for you so far? And since it isn't, why don't you come and see?
Right. And sometimes, like you shared with your list, the list of 18 with you and Linda, and I know God has highlighted to me some places that I have done this very same thing. Sometimes it's even, we know this, and yet we get lazy.
Yeah.
And so that reminder to come back and to take this posture, it's an important reminder for all of us wherever we're at in it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so we'll pick this up again, Psalm 145. There's more here, as you can see, but he's given us a picture of get to a point where you're daily praising me, where you're sharing my works. So that means you are experiencing my works, and you're sharing that, and meditate on the splendor of my majesty, and keep that in front of you all day long, all the time, because guess what? You're going to have another issue tomorrow.
Yes.
And you got to learn to live in a different way, and not go, not be burdened by worry, fear, and anxiety, but rather the freedom, the trust, the joy I can hardly wait to see how he's going to resolve this one.
Right.
And
Right.
how fun
And
is that gonna
seeing
be?
the
So,
adventure and
yeah.
watching God be God,
Yeah.
you know.
So if you got questions, send them in on the YouTube comment section or questions at afjministry.com. We'll be happy to keep talking about this and processing with you, even if you got something very specific that you want to deal with, and we'd love to do that. And then Kathy, we will pick it up again tomorrow and continue more of what he's trying to get us to understand as he summarizes all this in Psalm 145.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and have a wonderful Valentine's Day. And just a
Yes.
reminder, whether you have a Valentine or not, you have a God who absolutely adores you
Amen.
and loves you. So receive his love today and celebrate Valentine's with him.
Yes, amen. All right, we will
All right.
see you tomorrow.
Have a great day.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. Send us your questions and comments, and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.